The prairie night lay heavy over the land, cold and unforgiving, and in the silence of an old wooden barn, a young woman crouched in the corner, clutching her crying baby close to her chest. Her shawl frayed and her eyes hollow from sleepless nights and endless fear, for she had been running from hunger, from cruelty, and from the loneliness that gnawed at her bones. She had hidden in the shadows so long that she believed the world had forgotten her, yet she still rocked her child, whispering fragile lullabies to soothe the tiny life she was determined to protect, when suddenly the creak of boots outside froze her blood, and she pressed herself tighter against the wall, terrified that another cruel hand had come to claim her last shred of hope. But the barn door eased open with a low groan, and into the darkness spilled the glow of a lantern, warm and steady, cutting through the gloom like a promise. And there stood a cowboy, tall and rugged, his wide-brimmed hat shadowing his sharp features, his eyes searching until they found her. And when they did, they softened not with judgment but with compassion. He took a slow step inside, holding the lantern high, his voice calm and steady as he said, "Don't be afraid. I'm not here to hurt you." Yet fear still clung to her heart, and she whispered brokenly that she had nowhere to go. No family left, her husband gone to war and never returned, leaving her to wander with a baby too young to understand why the world was so cruel. And though she tried to be strong, tears spilled down her cheeks as she confessed that no one wanted a widow and her child. The cowboy listened, his heart tightening at her words, then knelt before her in the straw, lowering the lantern so its glow lit his face, revealing honesty and kindness where she expected only demand. And gently he said, "You're not a burden. Ma'am, you're a blessing. And if you'll let me, I'll see to it you never hide in the dark again." And though she shook her head, afraid to believe, the baby cried louder, its tiny fist trembling, and that sound pierced the cowboy's heart like no bullet ever could. He shrugged off his weathered coat and laid it over them both, the weight of it warm and solid, and the baby quieted almost instantly, soothed by the man's presence, while the woman looked at him with eyes torn between fear and longing, for something in his steady voice and gentle touch stirred a fragile hope she thought long buried. "I don't have much," he told her softly, "but what I've got is yours, my fire, my food, my word that no harm will ever touch you while I'm alive." And then he extended his hand, rough and calloused from work yet steady as stone, and though she hesitated, trembling with doubt, the yearning for safety overcame her fear, and she placed her hand in his, letting him lift her to her feet as though she were made of glass. Together they stepped into the cold night air, the lantern's glow casting a circle of light around them, and outside, his horse waited patiently, strong and sure, ready to carry more than just the weight of two souls. It was ready to carry the beginning of a new life. "Climb up," the cowboy said, and with a gentleness that surprised her, he lifted her and the baby onto the saddle, settling them safe before him, and as he swung into place, he spoke words that would never leave her heart. "From this night on, you're mine to protect, and nothing in this wide world will touch you or your little one without going through me first." And when she whispered through her tears, "Why would you claim me when the world has thrown me away?" he answered with a firmness that silenced every shadow of doubt, "Because I don't see what the world sees. I see a mother strong enough to fight the dark for her child, and a child who deserves a future brighter than the rising sun, and I won't be the kind of man who turns away from that." And as dawn broke over the mountains, painting the horizon in fire and gold, the woman felt the chains of loneliness fall away, replaced by the warmth of belonging. For the cowboy who lit the lantern had also lit her heart, calling her his not out of pity but out of love, out of honor, out of a choice that gave her dignity and her child a future. The baby stirred in her arms, no longer crying, but resting peacefully as if it too believed in the promise carried in the cowboy's steady embrace. And for the first time in countless nights, the woman allowed herself to believe in tomorrow, to believe that the shadows no longer owned her, because she had been found by a man who chose her when no one else would, who stood as her shield against the storms of life, and who made her feel cherished where once she had only felt forgotten. And dear viewers, if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that even in the darkest nights there can be a lantern's glow, then I invite you to subscribe to this channel, because here we bring you stories of love, courage, and redemption. Stories that remind you no matter how lost or broken you feel, there is always hope waiting to be found. And sometimes all it takes is one soul, brave enough to light the lantern and call you theirs forever.